Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Savvy Cast. This is Jamie, and I'm so glad that you're here today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. Today is a very practical episode. I am going to share 15 practical tips to being a perfect dinner guest that will always be invited back. There's an art to being a great guest, and it starts long before you walk in the door. Whether you are part of a supper club or a small group that meets and eats regularly, or if you're just invited to someone's home for any kind of meal, it can be a casual lunch, it can be a holiday celebration, it can be a formal dinner. There is an art to being a great guest, and there are very specific things that can set you apart and make you the perfect guest. So, I suggest if you are perhaps a homeschooling mom or you want to share this information with your children or your grandchildren, I can promise you these things are so valuable because it's wonderful leaving a great impression on someone who's serving you. They're inviting you into their home. They're taking the time to prepare a meal. So being gracious and respectful, it it just leaves a great impression, and it is important, not just in the South, but everywhere. So these 15 ways, they're simple, but they're powerful. They will ensure that you are always invited back. So, number one, before the event, when you are invited, RSVP promptly. And there are many ways that you can be invited. You might be, like, for instance, in our small group, we have a group text and we send the details of that week's dinner. And we always say, let us know if you're coming for food preparation. And everyone just replies in that big group text. Now, that is a more casual way, but it's a manageable way for a group that meets consistently. You may receive an email invitation for a more formal event. You may get a text or just a call from the hostess. Either way, RSVP promptly, because if the host has to repeatedly check back or say, hey, are you coming? Or, well, we have these people who've replied, these two couples haven't. It's just a little difficult on the hostess or host to have to follow up. So, RSVP promptly. Number two, ask what you can bring. It is nice if you offer to say, hey, I'll bring sourdough bread. If you are great at sourdough and you know that's something that would be appreciated. But it's always nice to ask the hostess specifically what they would like for you to bring because they probably have a certain entree and a certain theme. So it's, I think, better to just say, please tell me what I can bring. And on that note, if you sign up or you commit to bringing something, be very mindful that if something happens, especially at the last minute, make sure that you make arrangements to get what you committed to bring to the dinner party because the host or the hostess has counted on that. They've put it into the equation. So having a last minute change of plans is not an excuse not to take the dish. And there are many ways that you can make that happen, especially if you're in a small group or a dinner club. You can just get someone else in the group to take your place or to pick something up on the way, and you can just shoot them a Venmo. But just be mindful to always bring it if you said you would. Number three, bring a useful, universal hostess gift. Now, this would not apply, like our small group members don't bring us gifts every week. But if you are at a special event or a special dinner, a hostess gift is always appreciated. And my recommendation is to take something that's useful and universal. A bottle of wine may not be appreciated by a hostess that may not serve alcohol. Sweets or candy may not be used by someone who maybe follows a certain diet. I absolutely have zeroed in on the perfect hostess gift, in my opinion. and that is a beautiful bottle of Costarina EVOO. Now, they have many other things. They have fabulous vinegars that are actually, you can make mocktails, cocktails, you can make dressings, vinaigrettes, but I think a bottle of extra virgin olive oil, everyday or original, is perfect because the bottle is beautiful. You can slip it in a beautiful wine bag with some ribbon, so it's beautiful, and they pull it out, and it's something they can and will use regularly because who doesn't reach for olive oil every day if you cook? So I will link to Costarina, and I have a 15% off code if you're a first time buyer. So perfect hostess gift, in my opinion. I'm actually thrilled because one of my daughters texted me a few weeks ago and she says, Mom, I'm wanting to give a gift to, she's writing a book, and she said, to my friend who's doing my Audible. She's reading my Audible for me, and I want to give her a gift. Do you have any Costarina? Because that's my go to. So, Costarina is great, great, great for a hostess gift. Okay, number 4, bring your dish ready to serve. For instance, if you say, I will bring a ham, this is probably something that would be during the holidays. Make sure that it's either already spiral sliced or that you've sliced it at home, because you don't want to walk up and the party's almost ready. It's almost time to eat. And there's a whole ham that needs to be sliced, and you're asking for an electric knife or a slicer, and then someone's in your kitchen slicing meat. It's just always good that you are able to set the food down and it's ready to serve. And on that note, I would always take it on a pretty platter. And this is the tip of the century. I go to Dollar Tree or Dollar General, they all have them, and you go to the party section and they have plastic, or I guess they're plastic, but they're disposable, but pretty. They have trays, they have bowls, they have divided trays. You can get any lovely disposable serving piece that looks great, but then the host can toss it at the end. That is probably one of the best tips ever. You don't want to take a dish that the host has to go search for something to serve it on. So, Dollar Tree for the win. Number 5, be mindful of what dish that you take. Take something that is universally loved. Avoid ingredients that some people might have an allergy or an aversion to. I don't ever take pork or seafood unless I'm specifically asked to bring that. I usually think crowd pleasers like bread, casseroles, desserts, something that almost everyone would like, including children. Number 6, make sure you bring enough, especially if you're going to a potluck or a supper club where there are a lot of mouths to feed. If you say you're going to bring a salad, bring a big salad. If you say you're going to bring a dessert, bring a big dessert. Bring a cake, bring 2 dozen or more cookies, because always err on the side of having too much than not enough. Number 7, arrive on time but not early. If you've hosted parties, you know that it can be stressful trying to get ready. And I know for me, and I'm going into 20 years of being a hostess. It's always up to the last minute that I feel like I'm trying to finish things up. So having people arrive early is a little unsettling. Now, if they're family, it's not quite as bad, but you're super busy right up until the time guests arrive. So if you are a guest, arrive on time, maybe 5 minutes past, but don't get there early because it can be distracting to the hostess. Number 8, mind your shoes. And this is not something that I always thought about. Now, of course, I never went into someone's home if I had muddy feet, but I have noticed, and we were talking about this last night with our friends that we lead small group with. We were having a small group planning session, and my friend Deborah was just talking about how so many people really don't even want you to wear their shoes into your house because they are really mindful of germs and of their nice rugs or whatever. I've never really thought about that hard until last night. So, I'm going to personally be more mindful of making sure my shoes are clean and maybe even saying, "Would you like for me to leave my shoes at the door?" And we know in some cultures it's just automatic you take your shoes off at the door, but that's just something that got brought up last night. So I thought that I would throw that in. Okay, number 9, know where to sit and where not to sit. Unless you're told otherwise by the host or they have place cards, it's always good to avoid sitting at the head of the table. Typically, the heads of the table are for the host and hostess. So either let the hosts or hostess tell you where to sit, look for a place card, or just sit on one of the side chairs. Okay, during the meal, this is number 10. If you are in the kitchen and you are handling any food or doing any food preparation, just always make sure that your hands are clean, that you've just washed them. And it might be a good idea. And I always do this because I know so many people are worried about germs. I always say, if I'm even tossing a salad, I say, guys, just washed my hands, getting all this together, just where people will have peace of mind. And if you are walking in and you start helping, it's always good to just say, may I wash my hands here? Or do you want me to go into another bathroom? Just so that everyone will know that you who are touching food have clean hands. Okay, number 11, offer to help, but don't hover. If you're bringing your food and the hostess is getting everything set out, if you offer to help and she says, yes, you can do this and gives you a job, that's great. If she says, no, I've got it, you feel free to mingle, then don't hover. And I tend to have to make myself not hover and say, what about this? Well, let me do this. It's better to just take the lead of the hostess. So, okay, so number 12, unless this is a seated, plated dinner, you will be going through a line and serving yourself. And that's typically what always happens at a supper club or small group. Just be mindful of your portions and don't pile your plate. Take a reasonable first portion and make sure that everyone gets one of everything. Like if there are chicken breasts, get one breast, get some veggies. Don't get two or three breasts and pile sides where your whole plate is full, because it may be that things are tight and there's just going to be enough. I've done the small group with our friends. We've done it for so long. Very rarely have we run out, but there have been a few times that we were just on the edge, and we're either Deborah or I are telling our husbands, don't get any chicken, we're low, or no more bread, or we can't get any bread because it's almost out. So just first time around, reasonable portion, and if there's enough, then you can go back. Number 13, compliment the food specifically and sincerely. This is really, really important. And if you're in a small group, be aware who brought what. And it's just always such a good feeling to know that your hands prepared was a blessing to someone or that they loved it. So I love watching our small group. They're always complimenting the other people and what they brought and saying, oh my goodness, can we have this recipe? And then a lot of times we'll be putting recipes on our small group text. But especially if you go to a dinner party where perhaps you didn't take anything and the hostess prepared everything, maybe just find one thing that you really loved and then be specific about why you loved it so they know it's sincere. It's just very gracious and it means so much. Number 14, include others in the conversation. And if this is a dinner party or larger party, there's always going to be that guest or those guests. Maybe they're new, maybe they're just quieter, but it's always so gracious, whether you're the hostess or the guest, to specifically try to draw those guests in. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just ask questions. Just say, now tell me how long you've lived in Birmingham, or now tell me how many children you have, or just anything that will engage them, make them feel special. That's just always really being warm and inclusive, and it's always appreciated. Okay, number 15, don't overstay. Be mindful of what time it is, how long you've been there, because no matter how close you might be to the host and hostess, there's always a time to wrap it up because unless you're asked to help clean, now I always think it's good to go in the kitchen and help clean, but there are many hosts and hostesses. I'm one of them. I like to do that myself. So, unless you are in the kitchen helping clean, it's better to maybe start putting chairs back, just doing anything you can to wrap things up and just don't overstay. Especially if you're in a recurring group and it's on a weeknight and everyone has to go to work the next morning, just be mindful. The next day, also, it's always nice to just send a text saying, "Hey, thank you. It was great last night. Appreciate you so much." Okay, so those are the 15 things. I do want to add a bonus, and this is being mindful about children. Never assume that your children are invited because, in most cases, especially of a small group, church related, it's it's typically assumed they're not invited unless it says child care provided. There is never a reason or an excuse to take children unless you have asked the host or hostess first and they've said it's fine. That's just something that I firmly believe. I have some friends who have shared that they host a lot, and they have specifically on invitations put adults only, and then there have been people who showed up with children, and that's just really not acceptable. And I think it's just good to always make sure that you have well thought out childcare. So, and we all love children, but in the realm of entertaining and having being a guest, if they're not invited, you have to find a place for your children. And one thing that I will say, especially if you're a new mom, one of the best things you can do for your children, if you're a grandmother, one of the best things you can do for your grandchildren to give them a leg up once they're out into the world is teach them to be not only hospitable and having people into their home, but being a gracious guest. It's like knowing how to interview well. Being a gracious guest is an advantage. And if you don't ever want to leave a poor impression, you don't ever want to be one who behind the scenes someone is saying, "Oh my goodness, I don't want to invite them back. They brought their children, they weren't supposed to. They they were 30 minutes late and we waited." We just always want to be the best guests possible. So, I hope that these 15 tips were helpful. And if you have any comments, please leave them. I always want to know if my content is helpful, useful, if you have anything to add. So always feel free to leave comments. I'm so glad that you joined. And until next time, you have a fabulous rest of your day.